The anniversary of 9/11, we're going to talk all about it coming up on the Hot Zone.
This is the Hot Zone. Engaging with the news in a whole new way, international war correspondent Chuck Holton brings insight into areas of crisis and lets you help those affected.
Hey folks, Chuck Holton here. It is 9/11, and I'm out here in West Virginia working on my mother's house, so I've been painting all day, and so my hair's a little grayer than normal because I've got all this white paint in my hair, and but it's interesting because it reminds me of September 11th, because on September 11th I was working on my house doing a bunch of hairy homeowner stuff and staying home from work when we heard that the planes had crashed into the World Trade Center. And then we watched as the second plane crashed into the second tower, and we realized it was a terrorist attack. Now, at the time, we lived near Washington, D.C., and we could hear the jets going overhead. Everything else was totally silent. Like, there was no traffic, there was no other airplanes, but we could hear jets flying circles around D.C., and they'd come right over my house. And we realized that something big had taken place. I'm sure that if you were alive then, you remember where you were when 9/11 happened, and we probably always will. And I think we need to share that with our children. I think we need to take some time on September 11th and talk to our kids about the horror of that day. And as my own son serves in Afghanistan now, it's amazing to think that he was just a little boy at that time. What was he, 4, 5, 6 years old, something like that? So yeah, probably 6. So he remembers it, and he just remembers we were all very upset. He didn't really understand everything at that time, but so I want to play a little bit of my interview with Mason on the podcast today because he talks a little bit about that. Take a listen.
In Kabul, a weekend celebration turns to horror when a suicide bomber blew himself up during a wedding party, killing 63 people. The massacre is just the latest attack by the group called ISIS-K, the Islamic State affiliate in Afghanistan. The 17,000 coalition troops still stationed here have watched violence like this continue, and there seems to be no end in sight. President Trump has made it clear he does not see an acceptable military solution, and that U.S. troops should not be involved in nation building.
Look, we're there for one reason. We don't want that to be a laboratory, okay? It can't be a laboratory for terror.
American troops on the ground have transitioned in recent years to a role they call advise and assist, but that doesn't mean they don't have anything to do. On the contrary, the drawdown from more than 100,000 troops has left the few that remain spread thin across the country. For the 501st Aviation Regiment out of Fort Bliss, Texas, the 7 months they've spent in country has been extremely busy. Major Robbie Flowers commands a company of medevac helicopters that cover the entire country.
We have 4 full crews for 2 mission lines that will be on duty for the next 24 hours. So we have a first up lead aircraft and chase aircraft, and then a second up lead and chase aircraft. First up is primary on call for any medevac or TACAVAC, which is a patient transfer mission. And then second up is on call for any mass casualties, or in case first up is gone on a mission and we receive a follow-on mission.
One of the very first embeds I ever did in Afghanistan was with another medevac unit right in this same spot from the 101st Airborne. Well, a lot has changed in the war in the last 12 years, but some things remain the same. One of them is just how vital this mission happens to be. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to come here this trip. But there's another special reason I wanted to embed with this particular unit, and that's because of one special soldier that's serving here for the last 6 months or so. My oldest son, Mason, is here on his first combat deployment as a crew chief in the medevac unit.
There's my boy.
We even got to go flying together.
First time my dad went to Afghanistan, I was about 12 years old. I remember being a little bit worried about him not coming back. And then once he came back, I remember seeing the footage that he took over here. I remember seeing blown up Humvees, people getting drug out, brought back to the helicopter and getting flown away. And I always remember thinking it looked so cool, it looked like the Wild West. Being a part of Dust Off is probably the most rewarding mission set, I would say, out here. We're trying to help people, keep them alive, and get them back to a place where they can get a higher level of care. Honestly, it's not unexpected for my dad to come out here to Afghanistan. I would be almost more surprised if he hadn't come out to Afghanistan. But I'm just glad everything worked out and that his trip worked so that he could come out here.
And there's no shortage of wounded. Mason's unit can get called on to respond in minutes, any time of the day or night.
Without fail, I take my pants off, take my shirt off, and we get a mission.
So I'm here in the ready room where they are preparing to go on a mission, and right behind me on the television is more news from El Paso, the hometown of this unit, about the horrific shooting that happened there. And so aside from the concern that these guys have getting ready to go out and put their lives on the line here in Afghanistan, they've got to have this on their minds, thinking about their loved ones back in El Paso. I'd never have believed that one day I'd be reporting from Afghanistan, riding on missions with my own son. But after 18 years, America's longest war may finally be winding down. And if President Trump has his way, these may be some of the last Americans to ever deploy here. You know, in a way, September 11th had a lot to do with me becoming a photojournalist, becoming a war correspondent, because I really wanted to get involved. I wanted to do something to help, and I actually went to the National Guard Armory a couple days after 9/11 and looked into re-enlisting. I had already been out of the military for some years at that point, and I was a stockbroker. But I looked into re-enlisting, maybe part-time as a guardsman, going military intelligence, something like that, and finally just realized that it wasn't realistic with all the children I had and everything. It just, we had 3 kids at the time. 3 kids? Yeah, 3 kids. And it just wasn't realistic for me to join, but I wanted to be involved. So a couple years later, when I got the chance to go to Iraq and cover the war, I jumped at it, and I couldn't wait to get there because I just wanted to be a part of it. And now here I've been a part of it for about 15, 16 years, and it's helped define my life. So I think that that's a good thing for me, even though it's a bad thing for a lot of people. God used it to make some changes in my life that were pretty amazing. And that gives me great hope. I hope it does you too. That's all I got for the Hot Zone today. It's a little bit short. I do have one more thing. I've got this pretty cool package about the USS New York, which was named because of 9/11 and actually built out of some of the steel from the World Trade Center. So check this out.
That morning was unbelievable.
We were working at the Township Hall.
I was in the Philippines.
I was at my first job ever out of high school.
6th grade, first period.
The instructor came into the classroom and said, there's been a tragedy.
And at first I thought it was a joke.
Kind of a hoax.
Honestly, I couldn't believe it.
Teacher had the TV on and she was crying.
And that's when we saw the second plane struck.
When it happened, my first reaction is, what? That could never happen. I just didn't understand it because I was just young at that time.
It was something that I will never, ever, ever forget.
We on the ship like to think that the 3,000 people that died that day kind of watch after us.
It's actually a very beautiful ship. If you look at the lines and the angles that she has cosmetically, she's a very sleek looking machine.
And so by having all of the angles that we have on board and having everything tucked away and hidden makes us look very small on radar. The primary mission of the New York, which is an LPD, it's a landing platform dock, is to carry Marines. We can carry about 700 Marines on board and all of their equipment to just about any place in the world.
We're multi-mission capable. And that makes us an effective fighting platform.
Count on set, 2/3, 6 knots.
30 seconds, stand by.
LCAC stands for Landing Craft Air Cushion.
We can load an M1A1 tank on there, 2 AAVs, MTBRs, 5 tons, Humvees with trailers, water buffaloes, you name it, we can carry it.
And what that allows us to do is, with our low radar cross-section, be just off the coast where it's far enough that they can't really reach us or see us. And with their speed of advance, can put a lot of Marines on the beach quickly. So in essence, we can build up our combat power ashore before they know we're really even there.
This ship represents so much more than just being a ship in the water. We have a flight deck with 2 main spots and 6 expanded spots.
The ones that the ship was really designed for is the MV-22 Osprey. And the way my flight deck is set up, I can actually have 4 on deck at a time.
It's stressful, it's a ballet. When everything comes together and all my guys are working well together, it's fantastic.
It is a pretty strong deterrence when we come into your waterway. We bring a lot of capabilities with us so that we can remain an instrument of freedom and peace. Where most of the world thinks about September 11th just once a year, we carry that responsibility forward. I grew up in the Bronx in the James Monroe houses where we lived right down the street from a fire station. I said to the detailer, I really want to serve on that ship. Really means a lot to me, in some small part because of what she means and the responsibility that we have in honor of what the ship stands for.
If this ship represents something, it's emotion, because people put emotion on the USS New York. What we have on our bow, I don't think is a secret to anybody. We have 7.5 tons of World Trade Center steel.
That's extremely special to us because it's like taking a piece of such a tragedy that happened, and we get to take it back overseas.
What's special about the ship is what it stands for, and the crew knows that. The crew is truly amazing.
To ITSN Jessica N. Martinez, United States Navy. We must strive with renewed dedication towards valued ideals.
Anybody that says that today's youth doesn't have the same dedication or patriotism that we had back in the golden era, yeah, I would challenge that.
Displaying outstanding initiative and technical abilities.
We are serving on board so that we can not only honor those victims that died that day, but I think when we bring the fight to the enemy, we don't have to go through another 9/11.
Let's have a big round of applause for him.
We will always rise from the ashes, and we will always go back and be that deterrence, be forward deployed, show them that we are capable of surmounting any obstacles they try to put in our way.
Okay, that's really all I've got for today, folks. Thanks for watching. Sorry to make it so short today, but it's been a really, really long day. So I hope you're having a good one. God bless you. Take care.
The Hot Zone is produced by Amy Holton and Livefire Media. Copyright 2019.